Hi, hello, and welcome to PopPedia podcast. You guys must be seeing me after a long time, and I have an amazing guest, a dear friend who I've been trying to get on the podcast for a long time, for about 3-4 months now. But yeah, we have Jay Fiasca. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
He's a theater performer, and he's been in the industry for a long time, and we're just gonna chat about stuff.
Yeah, excited about it.
So let's just get started with. I had this question for you. What is the first ever film or play or a book that you remember that just sort of moved you?
Hmm. That's an interesting question. I would say it was a lot of things. The first movie I can remember, and I'm talking about like being a little kid, and just recreating the movie, was Ghostbusters. Those I can remember being a kid and just recreating those scenes with my brothers, and just playing around and trying to be those guys because I have. I'm one of four brothers, so it was perfect with the four characters. So that was like the first movie I can remember as a kid. There are great films like The Conversation, John Cazale, Godfather, all these sort of films back in the 70s were, Dog Day Afternoon, that had a big impact on me. But then there were films like with Gene Wilder, like Young Frankenstein and, Blazing Saddles, things like that. Mel Brooks really had an impact on me. So sort of both sides of the spectrum. In terms of plays, I started out with musical theater. But it was I think grade 6. I had a teacher who was also the choir, director at school, and I was in that because in those grades in the States they kind of make you take a bunch of different things to see what you're good at or what you like. And I guess I could sing a little bit. They just needed guys probably, and he was
Or
like,
when was this?
this was grade 6, so I probably would have been 10 or 11. You know. And they were like, need boys for the musical. And he was like, you're going to be in the musical. And I was like, no, I don't want to be in the musical. I'm going to go play football or, play sports like my other friends. Yeah. And he was like, you're going to be in it because we need boys. And yeah, I'll fail you if you don't.
So was it something you studied back in this?
Well, so I mean, like we had like drama class and choir class and all that kind of stuff, but it was nothing. I was in those because we had to be. Didn't really have like a passion for it or an idea I would do anything. I just wanted to play sports, baseball, football, like my other friends. I mean, at that age, I think I wanted to play first base for the New York Yankees. That was so that was my first passion, and then they threw me into this, and we started the rehearsals. And I remember in the rehearsal, there's a scene. And I remember I was just in the ensemble. I didn't have a part or anything. But then there's a scene where, as tourists, we're standing on Liberty Island looking up at the Statue of Liberty. And Brutus has taken olive oil, Popeye's girl, up into the top of the Statue of Liberty. And we're all looking up and we're shocked. Like, oh, my God. Oh, my goodness. So as we're backing up, I trip over this bench that was behind me, and I mean a full, face plant 180, whoom, right on the face. And everybody was laughing, and I'm just on the floor, and I'm just so embarrassed. I'm like, see, this is so stupid. I can't believe they made me do this. All my friends are, people are laughing at me. But as I'm getting up, they're laughing, but it was something a little bit, sort of different about the laughter. And I wasn't really sure what it was, but I got up. And everybody's like, Jay, that was amazing. They thought I did it on purpose. They thought I, did the whole thing on purpose. And of course I was like, yeah, of course,
I'm a natural. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. I meant to do that. And so after that, I was like, okay, this is kind of fun. And so I kept it in. So basically, every time we did it, each night it got bigger and bigger until basically I was doing a backflip over the thing. You know what I mean? And when we did the curtain calls at the performances, it was a really small cast, so everybody got a small individual bow, even the people in the chorus, and I got a little extra roar because people, remembered that thing, and that was it. And I was like, oh, I like this. This could be for me.
So this is still when you were like about what, 12, 13?
No, I was
or
younger, 10 or 11.
10 or 11.
Yeah.
And that's when you decided.
And that's when I was like, yeah, I like this. And so I started being in all the plays and all the musicals that I could after that, and I fell in love with it.
Wow, that's nice. Yeah, this one time when I was on stage, I was about 12 or 13, and we were doing a mime. So the stage was like there were curtains, there was no support.
Yeah.
So this one guy just he thought that he can lean on the back of the stage.
Yeah.
So we get on the stage and we're just in standing in line, and this guy just tries to lean on and falls off the curtain and falls at the back of the stage
Oh, God.
in front of like 500 people. And this was like an inter-school competition. So there were schools from across the city, across
wow.
the state. So everyone, the best teams of of the state, and just we were just so embarrassed.
Yeah, no.
And this one time, I remember I was doing a monologue of Al Pacino from the movie Any Given Sunday.
Ah, yes, every inch.
Yeah, every inch. Yeah, I memorized the whole thing, and I was ready. But the monologue competition, my school was the last of the contestants.
Right.
So we were two of us, and because we were the last, I didn't give a fuck about who's going on first and who's doing. So I just slept through for like 2 hours, and then when my turn came in, I was blank. So I go up and I do something. I do it well,
Yeah.
but I did not follow the script
But it
at
wasn't
all.
the monologue.
It wasn't the it was something that I had created myself, and I was just saying it as Al Pacino would say,
Yeah.
and having the most fake American accent. And just that that, and I had talcum powder in my hair to make it white. So all those things. But so when did you start professionally doing this?
So when I was 14, I auditioned for this thing called Summer Dinner Theater. And it's kind of like a summer stock. Summer stock in the States is like theater that's done at these regional playhouses, and you'll have some older people, professional people as like the leads, and then some younger people as the ensemble and doing all the other jobs and things like that. And it's a way to sort of gain exposure with working professionals, as a younger person and all that kind of stuff. And Summer Dinner Theater was kind of like that, and had a very good reputation for doing high quality shows and things. Yeah. Too relaxed.
Yeah, exactly. No, but you can be relaxed.
You
You
just make me
just
so relaxed. I feel so chill.
just get the mic closer and you can lean back then.
And so it had a really good reputation for doing some good stuff. So I auditioned for it. I was 14. Didn't think I was going to get in, but I did somehow. And so I was the youngest in the company by 3 years. I think 17 was the next sort of oldest person in the company. So I did that from when I was 14 till I was about 21 every summer. And it was a really great learning experience for me because I got to learn from people, friends and make friends and professionals, who were really doing it professionally and semi-professionally and working at other big regional theaters and worked in other big places, and just learning from them and having a love for it and just falling in love with it over and over, because whatever job I was doing, I was really happy, because in those things we you do if you're not in the show, you do crew for the next show, and you're involved in all the aspects of it, and I loved every second of it, and it really was a wonderful learning experience for me at a young age to learn how to do it with people who do it at a high level. So I was very fortunate. So that's kind of semi-professional there. And then when I get to my senior year of college, and we graduate, I moved to Los Angeles, and that's when I started working professionally in things that were like film and television, as well as the theater, because to that point I had only worked in the theater. musical theater.
And then you
and
started
plays.
working on screen.
Yes, and then I moved to LA to learn how to be on screen because I hadn't done that yet. And for me, I've always been a kind of person, performer that I learn best by just go doing it. You know what I mean? Learn on the job. That's kind of how I like it. I mean, I love to train, and I think training is important, and I've certainly believe in training and technique and all those kind of things. But for me to get better as a performer, I really need to be on the job. So that's where I went to learn television and film, and that's where So I started working professionally doing that, and I've been doing that since then. So since I was 22, so a long time now.
So 17 years.
Yes, so you want my age there.
Yeah. But no, I've been, when I was doing acting workshops when I was younger, there was this thing where when I was on screen, when we were doing something where we were supposed to be on screen, I was always told to tone down a bit because I was too loud. But is that a kind of, so what do you?
I know it, I know what you mean. As a performer, you know what I mean. But for maybe people who don't know, it's not that you turn down anything. It's just the type of presence that you want to give. So the way I look at it is when you're doing theater, we're going to look at it through painting. If you're doing theater, it's like you're painting the Sistine Chapel, right? So you have this giant, sort of canvas ceiling that you have to paint, right? So when you're doing stuff, your brush strokes are a little bit bigger and broader because you have this massive space you have to fill, and that's the theater. The guy in the front row has to get the same performance as the guy in the back row, and you have to fill the space. So you just, you're not big. Your paintbrush is just a little bit bigger stroke because you have this massive space to fill. Versus when you're doing television or film, you're still painting, but you're painting the Mona Lisa. Yeah. You're painting a portrait, So you're still painting, but your brush strokes are here instead of here,
But it requires the same level of precision.
Yeah, right? Exactly. But you just bring the scale of the canvas down, and when you're on camera, the audience isn't over there. The audience is literally right here, depending on the close-up. And that's where the money is. The money's in the close-up. That's what they always say. 2 shots are great, but you make your money on screen in the close-up. When they're right there on your face, the audience is right there. So you don't have to do very much, to get across what you're doing. The audience is right there, and the audience is going to interpret what you do. And, the audience does a lot of the work. On if you're doing film and TV, right? The moment you try to show them something, the camera doesn't want to see it, and the camera is truly a filter of truth. It takes no bullshit, So anything that you try to throw at it, it's bullshit. It'll throw it right back at you, and you can see it. So it's just about trying to listen and be with the other actor and not trying to do anything. Because, again, the audience is right there. They're going to interpret things the way your eyebrow thing, And you have all these famous examples of, people on screen. They go, "Oh, my God, what were you thinking in that moment?" Like, it was so cool. And he's like, "Yeah, I was just kind of thinking what I wanted on my sandwich for lunch," because, you know what I mean? Yeah. Because he wasn't trying to do anything. He was just trying to feel how he was feeling in the moment. And the audience is going to interpret a lot of it. So that's kind of how I look at it in terms of painting, the difference between television and film and theater. But it's all still the same sort of art, and that's why I think technique's important, and that all comes into play. And because I really do believe in training and things like that, because it's like any other profession, a carpenter or some sort of, profession that requires practice and skill. And the more you do it, the better you get at it. The easier it comes, the more you get out of your own way. I think that's what a lot of young actors sort of fall into when they, when they start up. I know I certainly did, is that you always feel like you have to do something, I got to show them what I can do or how good I can be. But that's not real life, in real life, most of us are trying to hide our emotions all the time. They're not trying to show you, how much I can cry or how much I can feel.
Well, that's a really good point, though. Like in real life, everyone's just, no one wants to talk about how they feel. Not many people.
No.
And when you go on stage or when you go on screen, that becomes sort of a way of of the artist to get his own emotions out as well, because that's how I started. That's how because I was not an introvert. I was never an introvert, but I would never talk about my feelings.
Yeah.
So for me, theater, acting, podcasting, for example, became a sort of medium to get my thoughts out there.
Yeah.
You know.
Have a voice. Yeah, no, 100%. Especially as men, in modern society. But, for a long time, it's not, hasn't been a priority for us to express our emotions. You know what I mean? Look for affection from other men, from anybody, hugs, handholds, anything, expressing your feelings, expressing your feelings to, your brother, your friend. That's not something we're necessarily taught that much. It's becoming more prevalent where we're trying to understand that you have to, express yourself and have these relationships. With your friends, your family, of the same gender, of a different gender, because it's important. You have to, I really do believe we as human beings we're pack animals. We want to be part of a community, part of something bigger than ourselves, and the more we embrace the exchange of emotions and feelings and thoughts, and look at those things as strengths, not weaknesses. I think we're moving in a better direction.
So let's pivot a bit to politics and art, for example. So do you think film, television, theater, or as an actor, do you think you can drive socio-political change in the world, or do you have the power, or?
Well, I think anybody with a platform, whether you're a stand-up comedian, an actor, a musician, anybody who has that sort of platform can have be part of the change that needs to happen, that shouldn't happen. I think anybody can influence anything, especially in today's sort of landscape with so many different types of platforms and mediums. But yeah, I think it's, speaking from an actor point of view, artistically, yeah, I hope, I get to be in work that influences the pop culture and the zeitgeist and the landscape around me, and I think definitely we can. I know some people don't want us to, you know what I mean? They rather us stay in our lane, or, that famous lady that said, LeBron just dribble a ball or whatever, and so people don't like, people who aren't in politics and all these things to have any sort of say or influence. But I think that's a mistake, and I think that's just people, trying to silence voices and different points of view and opinions that I think need to be heard. I think you need to hear everybody out and see where everybody's coming from. I think, especially nowadays, everything's so polarized. You're either with me,
Especially the U.S.
Yeah.
where you just have two sides of a coin.
Yeah.
And they're quite opposite from one another.
It's you're either with me or against me. It's kind of the thing, and that's really unfortunate. But in times like these, I think it's important to be a type of person that listens. Try to be as centerist as you can. I obviously, I guess if you don't know me, not obviously, but I tend to lean, more liberal. But I certainly tried my best to listen to my conservative friends and even people I don't agree with, just to understand their point of view, because everybody has their own point of view and sees things the way they are for a reason. I think a lot of it, I think we have a lot more common ground than we think. I think, unfortunately, in the world we live in, with television and news and that sort of media being put out there for profit, I think that a lot of people are misinformed and misled because it has better ratings and more money involved in that way. Telling just straight up news, and facts and those things, versus opinions, is not as profitable,
Yeah. No, last night I was listening to Trump on Flagrant. It was so funny because he couldn't have. They were talking about like the Andrew Schultz and Akash and who are the comedians, hosts of the podcast. They asked him about the assassination attempt, and he couldn't get any of the details right. So at first he started, the guy had 3 cell phones, and by 2 minutes he was like, the guy had 6 cell phones. and so stuff like that. But then he also went on and attacked, and he does this very often. He just went on and attacked a part of media, a part of American media that doesn't agree with him, or that asks him questions. Not just any channel other than Fox, for example.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was just throwing out names. He's such a clown just to watch.